There's this scene in Toradora that lives in my head rent-free. For those unfamiliar, this is a slice-of-life romantic comedy about 4 characters caught in one big love situationship. The type of incestuous friend group that give a CW cast a run for their money. At this particular point in the story, tensions are high. The 5-foot shorty over here has the hots for our 4-eyed friend in this corner, but that goober has his sights set on Miss Blue Hair Class President Dime Piece on the left. But she's looking to study over yonder with Uncle Sam in the good US of A and will soon be leaving Japan. Translation, it's a whole ass mess. And things are about to get messier cause dollar store Sabrina Carpenter over here is pissed. You do not reject the man of her dreams and get away with it. But that's exactly what the blue-haired biddy has done, and that cannot stand. Lady Leprechaun confronts the trifling harlot midday, during school hours, in her homeroom on her turf. Everything is on the line here. At least everything that matters in high school. I'm talking social standings, reputations, dignity, and most importantly, the opportunity to canoodle with your crush. Knowing the genre, knowing the demographic, what do you think would happen? How do you think this situation is resolved? Maybe she demands an apology. Maybe she breaks down. Maybe an emotional 3-way confession of love, passion, and anguish. Or maybe, most obviously, a heated argument. Nah, she sucks that bitch right in the mouth.
Getting all this promo. When it comes to money, bet these niggas is a no-show. I've been out in Bed-Stuy, chilling with my feet up, laughing at these SoundCloud niggas drop BS when I say
I adore this show for a lot of reasons, but this moment right here scratches such a particular itch in my brain. A mental G-spot that doesn't get stimulated enough. How often do you see stone cold ass whoopings handed out in a slice of life, let alone a romance? It's not often you see a lover's spat or common quarrel turn into a real high-class bout, and it's the rarity of that distinct brand of brutality that has prompted me to ask a question. Why don't more slice of life characters get their ass beat? While I consider myself an avid slice of life enjoyer, there's some sick part of me that wants to see my ookum schnookums and comfort characters throw straight hands. And it's that same twisted yearning that's attracted me to plenty of my favorite shows, especially over the last few years. Stuff like Frieren, Mob Psycho, Dungeon Meshi. Sure, these aren't exactly slice of life, but they use the same principle. Relatively mild-mannered, character-focused stories that use short burst of action to punctuate significant moments. Rather than exclusively progressing their plot through fights, combat feels specifically doled out to highlight characters and the state of their emotions, their growth, or their relationships. Mob Psycho's fights give me insight into his developing feelings, his understanding of those around him, and his own self-worth. Frieren's fights reflect her maturing worldview, while simultaneously allowing her to reminisce and contrast her current experience from her previous journey. Dungeon Meshi's fights highlight the camaraderie of the party, their individual strengths and ingenuity, and how they're growing to work as a unit. And this Toradora fight shows why you do not fuck with a hormonal, dick-whipped 17-year-old girl. They all reveal something while not being the central point of the series, and I think that contributes to them feeling so down to earth. Many stories get their kicks by sustaining action. Understandably so. It makes sense for the conflict and oftentimes looks cool as fuck. But it's also not all that relatable. They tell you that violence is a natural part of the human condition, but I'd be willing to bet most of us don't have that much experience with it. I'm a civilian ass motherfucker. The closest I've ever been to a fight is when some goon tried to press my homeboy at church camp, and I very masculinely puffed my chest out and called him a bitch. And then proceeded to back down because he was like 6 feet and scary, and I'm just a delicate little man. Yes, there are certain environments that lend themselves to violence more than others. Some of you might have more exposure, but most people are privileged enough that they don't have any desire or need to engage in actual fights of any sort. So when you encounter one, when it does happen, It's visceral and shocking. You can't take your eyes off it. How many times did you crowd around like howling baboons to watch two motherfuckers hit the old bob and weave on each other in high school? How many times do you catch yourself glued to that shitty fight clip that popped up on your feed? How many times have you fantasized about going toe to toe for your homie? What you do if someone messed with your partner and you had to get into a rumble for the gang? This Toradora scene gives me that same strange fascination, that weird, almost voyeuristic intrigue that can only be derived from seeing teenage girls beat the ever-loving shit out of each other? Because it's not supposed to happen. Unlike in a thriller or a fantasy or shonen, I'm not watching for an altercation. So when one spills onto the screen anyway, it's seared into my mind. When you commodify violence, then people begin to expect it, but make it a delicacy, and all of a sudden, it's easier to savor the taste. I promise I'm not just trying to be a meathead when I say this. I'm not just trying to infect your rom-coms and shoujos with battle shonen brain rot. I love wholesome moments, I love melodrama, I love episodic bullshit, school settings, non-existent stakes, love triangles, literary clubs, and beach episodes. I love cozy vibes and humdrum depictions of day-to-day life. I don't need every trivial dispute to devolve into some maniacal melee, but a touch of mischief goes a long way toward helping me understand a character's woes. It's a lot easier to feel the chip on someone's shoulder when I see him chip a tooth. I think more stories would benefit from characters having realistically violent reactions to their hardships. Mix it up a little. A few ratchet hoes, a class crash out or two, a rare rough and tussle to emphasize just how deeply the events of the story are affecting them, or just how badly some dickhead is getting on their nerves. Variety's the spice of life, and I don't think anyone's gonna shy away from a bit of seasoning. Honestly, it's crazy to me this doesn't happen more often. I hate when I'm watching a series where some basic bimbo or foolhardy bastard do some foo-foo bullshit that should absolutely get them smacked upside the head by someone, anyone in the story, only for them to work it out in some bum-ass way like fucking character growth. Like there's this one guy in Anohana whose whole thing was whining and cross-dressing, and I can get behind some good cross-dressing. That was vibes. I didn't give a fuck, but he just had to be a huge prick about it. Like actively antagonizing the entire cast and jeopardizing their well-being all for some daddy-daughter little girl roleplay in the woods. And like, I'm sorry, you gotta get thumped for that. Serve that boy a mean right hook one time. I promise he'll shape up real quick. And even if they somehow do come to blows, they be fighting sorry as hell. Breaking down crying talking about some nandate. I'm tired of it. Throw an elbow in there. Damn. Put your dukes up and knock the highlights out her hair. You think Mob's letting these fools fuck with him? You think Frieren's letting these bitches break her stride? You think the dungeon Meshi crew's letting the ops obstruct their path? No, because they understand that sometimes you just can't whine your worries away. You gotta lock in, wise up, and get ready to wallop. If you really break it down, fights, like any good narrative confrontation, are just emotional outbursts. There are more mature ways to resolve conflict. Some of those emotions are certainly more sophisticated than others, but they're all honest. This moment in Toradora isn't just two high school girls squabbling up for the sake of it. It's them putting the weight of their emotions behind their physical body, because that's how passionate they are. And that feels so real to me. It's just such a cathartic sort of release. You still get that emotional protein, but you also get a healthy side of belligerent brawling with it. And that's what I call a full plate. Sometimes you want that depth. Sometimes maturity should take the lead, and I want that teary-eyed goodbye. I want that heartfelt confession. I want that scandalous argument. And sometimes a bitch just gotta get her ass beat. Hey y'all, Happy New Year. I hope things are going your way so far, and if this video at all contributed to you starting the year right, please consider liking or subscribing, especially commenting some of those New Year's goals or resolutions. Shit like that does me good, and honestly, I just want to hear what North Stars y'all are chasing this year. Big ol' round of applause for my heavenly patrons as usual, always coming through for your boy. And there's a fuck ton more of you now, which is kind of scary honestly, but I'm gonna keep working to make every one one of your dollars worth it. I hope you won't regret it. Dude, what is there even to say? The channel is in a really good place right now. Thank you all for the kind words after the arcane video. They all put a battery in my back. Welcome if you're new. I hope you're liking your stay. We're real glad to have you. This was a fun project to work on. Just something brash, brief, and silly to start the year off. Get the stove warmed up, set the tone for what I want this place to be. I know some people were hoping I'd do more arcane, but if you've been around, you know I'm really just flying by the seat of my pants. I can't promise I'll stick to any sort of topic or vibe, but I can promise that I'll always be doing something I find interesting and giving you the best me I can be. And with that, it's time for me to take my leave for now. Until next time, dog, keep your money tall, keep your swag bala, and I'll continue to drop gems like one collar. And as if you weren't familiar with how we do things by now, have yourselves a damn good one. Family, we ball forever.